All right.
Think about the wet towel as a background. Okay.
Nice. Are you in the bathroom? No, you're outside the bathroom.
I'm in the toilet.
Are you on the toilet?
Yeah. I get really nervous during interviews. Eliminate the middleman.
All right. I'll go ahead and get started here. Hello, I'm Daniel Pfalzgraf, owner of WheelHouse Art, and it's my pleasure to meet virtually with our two featured artists, Emily Pfaff and John Paul Kesling, whose exhibition Cathartic Dreams opens at WheelHouse Art Friday, September 13th, and continues through October 26, 2024. Welcome, Emily and John. Thanks for being here.
Hello, hello.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So I think so. A lot of this, your show, you guys kind of worked it out together, but a big crux behind it was sort of uh, childhood memories, nostalgia, and both the good and then there's sort of a underside to things, either in childhood or that you come to learn as you grow into adulthood and looking back on things and whatnot. Um, I think it's just I'm getting old, or because of the show, I'm seeing other things pop up and that just seem to resonate with the zeitgeist of the show. You know, my wife and daughter and I went and saw Beetlejuice this past weekend, which is absolutely about nostalgia. You know, originally released in '88, the first one, and particularly thinking about this show and the Catherine O'Hare character Lydia Dietz being the big famous artist in the movie. Kind of resonated. I couldn't help but think about this show and its very timely exhibition theme. I guess I'll just start off with my first question for you all. If you have, I was wondering if you guys have remember an earliest memory that you may have that you look back at fondly that also kind of illustrates your creative nature.
Um, I know I can speak to that because it comes to me constantly, and I'm always trying to capture the essence of it. It's before I can actually remember. I feel like it's just a flash from when I was maybe two, but it was just a long path just at blue hour dusk, and just the way the sidewalk would glow blue, you know, right at that hour, blue hour, I guess. Um, I've long been obsessed with that, capturing that kind of glow in the night, just like white socks, or just, I don't know. I also have a lot of memories of coming home from events or something, and it's that blue glowing time when white is just bright blue. So yeah, that pops up a lot for me.
Yeah,
How
and
about you, John?
yeah, I think some of the earliest creative things that stick out to me are a kid play with toys and things, and I remember just sitting out. There's a tree out front of our house, sort of courtyard area, and taking my toys out, digging with toy cars, making the whole a city, in with the roots and all that, and digging tunnels and all that kind of stuff. And it seems so important to me, which I think a lot of kids do this, obviously. But just now thinking about that with the show, it's the show is mostly outdoor scene, and also I think Dana, we have that history of skating growing up, and you're outside most of your life growing up. You're noticing all those kinds of the pebbles that are on the way to the run that you're doing and all that kind of stuff. So um, anyways, I just realized that outdoor connection that sort of
Yeah,
ties into the show. Yeah.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's exactly the first thought that came to my mind for me personally was matchbox cars in the dirt, building the roads, building the tunnels around the tree roots, even doing little twig guardrails and all of that, my kids play outside a lot, but still I have to wonder if some of, like particularly my daughter who's younger, she's 10 now, if, her earliest creative memories will be like, learning drawing on YouTube, being on her iPad and creating stuff on digitally,
Yeah.
So this show is sort of a reunion of sorts for you guys. You guys met when you went to Savannah College of Art and Design. I'm trying to think of about when. So Emily graduated in 2006. Is that right, with your bachelor's then?
Mm-hmm.
And John, you went and you had your master's at 2010 from there. So I'm guessing about 2005, 2006 is when you guys primarily overlapped. So I just want to, just setting the stage, the environment. Picture it, Savannah, 2005-06. Gold Digger by Yee and My Humps by Black Eyed Peas top the charts. Corpse Bride and Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith and Da Vinci Code were all in the theaters at the time. Motorola Razors were all the rage, and cell phone technology back when Nokia and BlackBerry were still a big thing. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you could kind of look back at your time back then, sort of this nostalgia, but a little bit later for you, but still in your youth. But like, what was that time in your life like? What was your life like outside of painting in school?
Let me see. I feel like I would walk for miles and miles every day because Savannah is so beautiful, and just the trees and the Spanish moss, the oaks, and the squares were just such an incredible place just to walk and sort through your thoughts. But yeah, it's definitely a muse of a city. So I spent a lot of time out just walking in Savannah, but then also just doing a lot of the college nonsense that kids do.
Yeah. For me, weirdly, I did not go outside much when I was there for grad school, and but because I was just in my studio, was just reading the books and just getting ulcers and dealing with that, just stress thing. But I just got back from Savannah, doing a residency not connected with the school, and I made sure, because it is such a beautiful and inspiring city, I just was like outside taking walks all the time. Went to the beach a bunch, like more times in this last month when I was there than I did in like the 4 years I was there, 3 years or whatever I was there. And really, that was at a different time in my life where like I could appreciate the outdoors, and I just did landscape painting the entire month. So it was sort of the opposite for me. I would take walks when I was in grad school just to like clear my mind, but it would literally just be around the art building, the painting building, which was beautiful, but it was 10 minutes, So I sort of had a different relationship with it this time around, which was really nice to be able to not have those pressures of grad school and deadlines, to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the first time you guys met each other, or any funny stories of your time together back almost 20 years ago?
Oh.
Yeah. John was a waiter at the famous Lady and Sons, right? A lot of my friends waited tables there, so that's actually how I think I met him. But I just became more familiar with his work actually after school. I'm such a huge fan, which is why I really wanted to do a show with him. But yeah, I do remember maybe watching Muppet Christmas Carol with Caroline. There it is. No,
this is a newer, my made me this book. My niece made this for me a while back, but
yeah, we both love the Muppets, so you know.
and I guess that I'm sure we were drunk. Let's be honest. The first time we met, it was that era and that that level of net Savannah back then for sure. Um, but yeah, I don't really remember the first time we met, but I just thought you were really funny. Uh, and obviously, like our mutual friend, we're all very funny people. So I think, and then we've just been since social media has like proliferated in those coming years, we've just kept in touch, vaguely, but always in the periphery.
Your work together works so well together. It's like it's kind of weird how well the show came together, how well the pieces talk to each other. I installed it, and there's a lot of conversations between the works where intermixed between both of you within the show. Um, do do you remember what your work was like before you went to SCAD, and if it was drastically different, and if so, if there was something like about SCAD that kind of informed your work, what you're doing now, like if there was a particular teacher or a lesson or a moment that kind of flipped a switch in your mind that kind of set you off on your current trajectory of your style or process of painting.
I think for me in grad school, when I started, like just before I got into grad school at SCAD, I lost my younger brother to like an opioid overdose. So that was like all I was thinking about, and I didn't know how to process that. So my work when I started SCAD was uh, thematically maybe the same, but visually it was. I was also learning about conceptual art, performance art, all these things that were interesting to me. But so I was really working through um, how to like present that this idea of like mortality, and they were more of more uh, focused bodies of work, but smaller bodies of work that were very specific to certain themes and stylistically, whether it be sculpture or performance or painting, they were all kind of separate installation, all separate. Um, and I think what I got out of that experience was that, and then I moved to New York right after grad school, and spatially I didn't have the room to make all these costumes and all this kind of stuff that I was doing. And I got back to like, well, how can I talk about these things in a more universal way, as opposed to just being about my brother, and how can that translate to a painting? Because I got to where I just wanted to make something that's like visually, to me, like visually interesting and like beautiful. Like I was going to see all these like paintings in real life, in New York, and I was like, I want to do that. I love painting, so I went from being like a more of a multimedia thing, artist, just focusing like nearly 100% on just painting, and then figuring out how to keep that interesting for me and to like make in images that I felt were maybe interesting to other people. So and still talk about those things, but in a more like universal, talking about not just death, but like the love of life. And so that's nature. That's all the things that where we are in the universe. How amazing it is that any of this
Interestingly, the year before that I was in high school, the year before I went to SCAD, my brother also overdosed, and he survived. But it was he was in a coma for a while. It was pretty insane. But I didn't ever really deal with it in my work, but it certainly would apply to the, the joy of life, kind of the not taking it for granted, and just finding those beautiful moments and trying to recreate them. But yeah, my work before SCAD was like high school artwork, so eyeballs. Jim Morrison, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say the most formative class for me, I mean, we did like a materials and techniques. Do you remember that? The just like learning some of the old master techniques, which I still kind of use those colors and mix those colors when I'm trying to get this kind of glow. But it was life painting, I think, was like almost more therapeutic than anything. It was like meditating for me. And then I think it was like trying to capture when light goes through skin and it glows red. It's just like I got such a thrill out of trying to capture that. And I think from there I just started making things glow, whether or not
Was
they're
that
Yeah.
was that with Steve Knudsen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I remember him describing those techniques as like light shining through a leaf.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That
I think
resonated,
about
yeah, with me. Mm-hmm.
mm,
But yeah.
Emily, where did you grow up? Where were you before SCAD?
Oak Park, Illinois,
Okay.
right outside Chicago.
And John, you went to SCAD from after Moorhead in Kentucky, right?
yeah, yeah. And I was
Or did
thinking
you make a stop between the two?
I took a couple years off between undergrad at Moorhead and grad school, and then during that interim is when my brother passed away. So I
Were
was
you still in
thinking,
Kentucky during that break?
yeah, I was actually living back at home when it happened.
Mhm. All right. Well, I guess my last question, I kind of want to leave it on a more uplifting note, and I'm curious to know what you guys do today, currently, that kind of helps keeps you centered more on the positives that will give you occasions to be able to look back and reminisce on in 20, 30, 40 years.
And for me, I'm 44 now, but I still and we talked about this a little bit when I was dropping off the work, Daniel. But like, I'm still skating. Like, I built a mini ramp for a show I had, so I still try to keep that like sense of play and the colors we use. And I think what's important for me is to like keep putting myself in uncomfortable situations to make myself like not become an old curmudgeon. Like I like to try to like just push myself to like understand more and see more. So I've been like the last few years, I've really just been like, applying to residencies, being in different parts of the country, travel things if I can. Um, and I like to make these dumb basketball videos. And that's sort of a break from the studio. I don't really go for walks. It's not a walkable neighborhood where I live. You have to drive everywhere from Nashville, but it's where I live. Um, but I try to like have those moments of like fun things to do while my body can still kind of do them. After
Mm-hmm.
a minor surgery, that kind of thing. Still like play and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have like seen what my dad did or my mom did when they were younger. But they don't have video archives of that. But those kinds of things where I'll see my dad with his shirt off, like where he was like building a house and like these Daisy Dukes. Like, man, what a cool, like never stop doing that.
There's no reason to stop that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, Emily, I hate to ask you this, but can you give me your answer again? My video recording, recording stopped while you were giving it, and took me a second to get it back on.
Oh, for what I do to keep.
For, yeah, positives, and look back fondly on. And,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I walk I walk and walk miles a day, and I walk to the woods, and I look at the light through leaves, like Professor Knudsen was telling us about, and I just yeah, that's my happy place. So yeah, and spending time with my kids, obviously. I mean, that's a
mm-hmm.
cliche. But
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me this morning, and your show looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see you guys in person again. So, uh, any parting shout outs before we go?
Shout out to you, Daniel. The show does look
Yeah.
great, and I can't wait to see it in person. And Emily, it's an honor to show with you. Been a fan of your work, obviously, for a while, and it's good to reconnect with you after all these years.
Oh, ditto. Yes, the pictures are amazing. It looks gorgeous. I can't wait to see it. Yep.
All right. All right. You guys have a good rest of your day.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.
Good Friday. All right.
Maxing out your memory. Maxing out my